history is important also to unseat a certain attitude which we tend to grow up with in this country. Happens in other countries too. I mean, almost anything I say about the United States is true of other societies too, except the United States is the best. Anything that happens in other countries, we do better, you see. And one of the things that we grow up with in this country, which as I say is all through in other countries, is a kind of arrogance about ourselves as a country. You know, we're the best, we're the greatest, we're number one. You know, we're, you know, that's, you know, liberty and justice for all. God bless America. I always wondered about that. Why would God single us out? Why not God bless everybody? You know, why, you know. Yeah, there's an arrogance there, you know. The starts, you know, right from the beginning. John Winthrop, first in Massachusetts, the city on the hill, everybody's going to look to us. And Reagan repeated that because Reagan was good at repeating things. The goal, he said, he embellished it a little, the golden city on the hill and all of that, and everybody's going to look to us. No. We have to be honest about ourselves. Well, there are good things about this country and wonderful things about this country, yes, Ed. But if you look at the policies of government, we don't deserve a commendation as a particularly grand showplace of democracy and justice and freedom. People forget about slavery. It's interesting in all this, oh yeah, we had a little problem, slavery. But we settled it, you know. We always settle things. Of course, we didn't settle it, really. No, we have to be honest about ourselves. Honest about the class structure, honest about how the working classes have had to fight and fight and fight in order to just survive in a country that was dominated by the rich. We have to be honest about what we did abroad and what we have done to other countries. And you know, I was on some radio interview last week, and the guy said, "But wouldn't you say that America generally has been a force for good in the world?" I said, "No." You know, no. No, we have. I mean, look at Latin America. We have been a force for good in Latin America. We have, and here's a history that very often is ignored and neglected. In fact, the whole history of Latin America is ignored and neglected. It's interesting. Teaching of history has been dominated by the history of Europe, and Latin America is sort of shadowy there. I mean, Latin America is the place closest to us. Latin America is a place we have had the most to do with, but somehow we don't want to talk about that. It's embarrassing, actually. Embarrassing to see what we have done with Latin America. Embarrassing to see how many times the Marines were sent into Central American countries again and again and again, all through the first part of the 20th century, and of course right up to the present time. And how American corporations have milked Latin America, and how whenever a government dared to elect a president that the United States didn't like, then the United States went to work, either covertly or overtly, to overthrow that government, because we're always in favor of free elections, except when it doesn't come out our way, you see. And when the election in Chile in 1973 didn't come out our way, we worked to undermine the government of Chile, and after which a brutal dictatorship was set up. When the government of Guatemala, when they had a rare free election and elected a president we didn't like because he was confiscating, not really confiscating, the lands of United Fruit. He was offering to pay them for it, but not enough. And so we went to work to overthrow the government of Guatemala and a military dictatorship set up there. No, we don't have, we're not the city on the hill. We have to be honest about ourselves. Because if we're not, if we are arrogant, if we think we are the saviors of the world, then this is going to reverberate down into present policy, and then we're going to say, oh, we are going to bring democracy to Iraq. We're going to bring democracy to the Middle East. I mean, there are educated columnists for the educated New York Times who have been saying this. Our job is to create democracy in the Middle East. We can't even create democracy at home. I mean, we have a problem with democracy here. And so there's this arrogance, you know, God is on our side. Interesting, they talk about a separation of church and state. God is always on our side. And, you know, McKinley said it about God told him to take the Philippines. And they all do it. And it's not a matter of Republicans or Democrats. They all do the same. You know, Woodrow Wilson presented in history books as an idealist, you know, and invoking God to say that America had a special mission in the world and so on. But, you know, and Wilson, and when you read about him in the history books, oh, he wanted a League of Nations, he wanted self-determination. And they don't tell you that Wilson sent warships down to bombard the Mexican coast in 1914, or that he invaded and occupied Haiti in 1915 and the Dominican Republic in 1916. No, they don't tell. This is Wilson, the liberal Democrat, the PhD. I'm sorry for saying anything against a PhD. But this kind of arrogance about ourselves, this failure to look honestly at ourselves leads to unilateralism. It leads to the idea that we don't have to pay attention to anybody else in the world, you know, because we're the best, we're the greatest. And so we don't have to abide by treaties that we've signed. And we don't have to sign treaties that everybody else has signed, be like a treaty banning cluster bombs, a treaty banning landmines, these deadly weapons that have killed huge numbers of people. We don't have to sign those treaties. We don't have to sign the Kyoto Protocol and the environment. No, we'll do what we want. So this kind of arrogance, this kind of exceptionalism, that's the word that social scientists use to describe this phenomenon. American exceptionalism, we are different. We are better than anyone else. That has to be faced very honestly, you know, if we want to really make our country a truly democratic and just place.